I was looking over some comps because there's not a lot of comps to what Drake Maye is doing right now. He's on pace to play 13 games, throw for 2,218 yards, 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a QB rating, or a passer rating, I should say, of 87. I went over the last 10 years or so of drafts, and the best two comps I could find, numbers-wise, not makeup or build or arm strength or any of that stuff, just numbers-wise, strictly, that I could find in comparison to Drake Maye, and not just Drake Maye, but going to a team that was kind of light on weapons, kind of light on O-line, maybe not as light on coaching. These guys had better coaches. But in general, I would say they were not great situations for a rookie quarterback to be in, but they still managed to put up pretty good numbers, and the teams thought, hey, we really got something here with this quarterback. So here's number one. Marcus Mariota, who was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, played 12 games, 2,818 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 picks, a passer rating of 91.5. Now, Mariota's problem was injuries. He used to get injured every year, and that was a thing that really derailed him. And maybe if he had stayed healthy, then he would have had a different career trajectory. But from a pass catcher perspective, his rookie year, they had Delaney Walker, and that's it. Does that sound familiar? Hunter Henry and nobody else. It's basically what Drake Maye has. They drafted Corey Davis with the 5th overall pick 2 years later in 2017. He was a colossal whiff. Davis was supposed to be their stud receiver, and he was just a total bust. And then a couple years later, I think they drafted A.J. Brown, but he was already, Tannehill was already there, and Mariota got benched for Tannehill, and that was it. And that was a situation where they picked up the 5th-year option. Right? So they believed in him enough to pick up that option, but then they ended up letting him go after that and not signing him to a long-term deal. That was, I'd say, a pretty bad situation for a quarterback to be in. They were all about the run game. They didn't really care about surrounding him with anyone. They assumed that he could do it all himself, or it was just incompetent front office work, whatever you choose to believe there. The other comp I found, for rookie year anyway, is Daniel Jones. Who his rookie year played 13 games, 3,027 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 picks, which is better than what Maye's on track for, and a QB rating or a passer rating about the same, 87.7. Same boat. No wide receivers, right, until Neighbors this year. But prior to that, I mean, it was Slayton and Shepard and those guys. They whiffed on Kadarius Toney in the draft. It was basically the same. Promising, not spectacular, but promising rookie years for all three of these guys, Drake Maye included. The team struggled to surround them with a viable NFL offense to run. And I think both of those situations are basically nightmare scenarios if you're a Drake Maye fan, wouldn't you say? Like, you don't want him ending up like Marcus Mariota and Danny Dimes 4 years later getting cut from their teams or worse. Like, that's sort of the track that those guys went on. Now, a lot of other things happened, and it's a different story with the Giants and their front office and the Titans and all that. But we all agree that we don't have a ton of faith in the Patriots organization to do the right thing for Drake Maye. So if they don't, that's the path you're looking at. You're looking at Mariota, you're looking at Danny Dimes, those type of guys, and both of them, I'd say, are in the flame-out mode, if that. Mariota's long gone. Daniel Jones, I mean, he's on his way down that road as well. You don't want Drake Maye going there.
I don't, and I don't think he is going there, obviously, because I'm, a little gullible Andy who's a big Drake Maye guy, although the long pause yesterday gives me pause for concern. But I will say Drake Maye was a better prospect than Daniel Jones. So if I'm going to parse these comps and just sort of how it turned out, Daniel Jones was a reach.
Yeah, he was. But
he was one of those guys
top 6 pick, right?
Yeah,
6th overall.
And people are like, that guy's going 6th over. Like, I think Daniel Jones was like a 3rd-round pick that go overdrafted. I think Daniel Jones and Mac Jones are very similar, in my opinion, in terms of what they were and how they got pushed up the draft board because of modern QB needs. And I would say Marcus Mariota, for me, was a college quarterback that I had my doubts while he was winning the Heisman if he was going to be an NFL quarterback. I don't think he was a great passer. I think Drake Maye is a far more advanced passer coming into the league than Marcus Mariota was. But you're right. And I don't think you actually wrote this down, but I would also wonder, what were the coaching situations for those guys in terms of offensive coordinator and changes and scheme and things of that nature? And I don't know the answer because the Titans went through a couple, I feel like.
They did. If Vrabel was like at the end, I think. So let's see. If he was drafted in 2015, it was Malarkey for 3 years. Wisenhunt got fired and then replaced with Malarkey, and then he was there for 2 more years, and then Vrabel the last year. And then
so a regime
I don't know what
change.
The offensive coordinator situation was, but yeah.
that is not the best of coaching situations, which I think is a parallel. We're not sure what the hell's going on down in
We
Foxborough.
have no idea.
We could be having the same conversation. Mayo was there for 2 years, and then whoever took over, and he had 2 coordinators in 3 years or whatever. So
Danny Dimes had Shermer his rookie year, then Judge for 2 years, and now 3 years of Dayball. So, the grass isn't always greener. You move on from somebody, and moving on from Shermer seemed like an obvious move. You bring in Joe Judge, and all of a sudden, this kid's got 3 years in the toilet, and you don't know what to do now. They ended up giving Jones a big contract, and they regret it.
And he had a good year before he got the big contract.
Yeah.
He kind of handcuffed them. That year really made their decision really tough when they gave him that contract. But you're right. This is absolutely
That was Dayball's first year.
Yeah. And this is absolutely a cautionary tale of false confidence in guys, or how you can derail development, or how guys can get overrated and then ruined. But there's a million of these stories. I would just say, from my perspective, being the gullible Andy, Drake Maye is a better quarterback than either of those 2 guys. And Drake Maye is doing, because I don't remember people raving about those guys the way they rave about Drake Maye.
I don't remember that with Jones. The Winston Mariota draft, they were 1 and 2, so people thought.
No, I mean in the league.
In the league, yeah, you're right.
I don't think there was these Dan Orlovsky faces while he does a 3-minute video on things Drake Maye is doing.
If Orlovsky was on TV back then, he would have.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Orlovsky was doing that with Mac Jones 2 years ago, so
yeah,
he'll do it with any quarterback.
He's a QB guy, absolutely. Maybe there's some truth
You'll
to
see that face.
But I don't know, because I think Orlovsky is a geeky QB guy, and I think Mariota was a physical QB guy. He could run, throw on the run. He was fun at Oregon. He was a fun player at Oregon.
Yeah, I think he's similar pedigree. Just in terms of what people liked about him and why they thought he'd be a good pro is Drake Maye.
Oh, I don't think so, because I think that scheme at Oregon got a lot of love.
That's true.
That he was coming out of. Is it the scheme or is it the player? And is the scheme and the player capable of going to the NFL? It was a little bit like Vince Young. Everybody loved Vince Young, but it was is he an NFL quarterback? He's a great college quarterback, but is he an NFL quarterback? And he wasn't.
He was not.
But he might have been. He had off-the-field issues that dragged him down, too. That's the other thing you don't know. It factors in the background. So I appreciate your research. It's a bit negative for my liking right now, because it paints a picture of you'll be looking for a new quarterback in 3 years.
Well, it's a cautionary tale, I think.
Yes,
It's a cautionary tale of here's what happens if you don't surround your quarterback, who looks promising on a bad team, with good players on offense. That's what it is. I don't necessarily mean it to say this is what's going to happen to Drake Maye, but it is what's going to happen to Drake Maye if you just keep missing in the draft and whiffing on free agents. That's what's going to happen. This is the road he's going to go down. And I would like to see that not happen.
With the Giants, the offensive line whiffing and not putting a good enough offensive line in front of him with any consistency would be part of the story. And that's a concern. That was the eye-opening thing that I didn't really know from the Reese story you referenced, that they had the NFL's worst pass win rate or whatever last year, and they still having the same exact worst ranking in the NFL year to year is horrific.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And we knew that Elliott Wolf whiffed on the offensive line, but that just puts it in numbers and statistics right in front of you. You were 32nd in pass blocking win rate last year. You made all these signings and draft picks, and you're still 32nd in pass block win rate. Why should I trust them again to fix mistakes?
Yeah, no real reason.